Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Next Level Thinkers, a Charting New Horizons of Brilliance podcast. Tim Klund is a trailblazer whose work bridges the worlds of nonprofit leadership, sports marketing, and philanthropy. A true visionary, Tim has dedicated his life to advocating for veterans, children, and underserved communities using his entrepreneurial spirit and unwavering empathy to create lasting change. From high-profile charity events to his groundbreaking work in wellness and branding, Tim has made it his mission to inspire action and transform lives. In today's conversation, we'll explore how Tim's leadership, built on integrity and influence, is shaping the future of advocacy and nonprofit work. Get ready to chart new horizons of brilliance with a leader who is redefining what it means to lead with purpose and passion. Tim, welcome to the Next Level
Thanks
Thinkers,
for having
Charting
me,
New
bro.
Horizons of
Well,
Brilliance.
I'd like to
podcast,
meet
brother.
that guy. Sounds great. Sounds interesting.
Look in the mirror, man. I met this guy, back in, I don't know when we
It's been
first,
probably
5 years, 5 years?
no more than that. Probably over 10 years.
Yeah. Wow, man, yeah, it's and even then, man, you were on your you were just taking off like a rocket
Yeah.
ship. You were doing the, you were doing a celebrity softball classic. You started off then, and I remember just sitting down with you and learning so much from you just from that conversation. It was the Man series,
Yeah.
The Secret Resilience to
Right.
Lead, and I learned so much from our conversation. Every time I go back and reflect on it, sometimes you'll see me reuse some of that material, because what you shared in that particular podcast was impactful. As a man myself who's working to overcome adversity in his own life, it was something that I grabbed a hold of, took in, and said, okay, man, like listen to the guys that are making impacts into this world, into this community in a dynamic way. And if you listen enough times, you'll start taking ownership of that. And I really appreciated that time then, and I do appreciate your time
No, I
today
mean,
too,
I
man.
always tell everybody adversity creates champions, right? And me and
Absolutely.
adversity go together like that. I mean, it's like I can't get rid of that dude. He's always with me all the time, it seems like. No matter how good things are, you still got adversity, trying to throw up roadblocks everywhere you go, right?
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
it's just part of it. And, it just kind of motivates me, because without adversity, I kind of feel like I'm dancing solo on the dance floor. So I kind of always need that adversity in my life to kind of help me continue going and growing. And it's just a great dance partner. If you can understand adversity and how to deal with adversity and how to overcome adversity, then it becomes pretty easy.
Yeah, and I think there's a famous fighter, Dustin Poirier. He says, gracious and graceful whenever he wins or
100%.
loses. Yeah, and I know you faced some adversity coming here and working through, navigating through that stuff.
Good old DFW roadways, yeah. Never a dull moment.
Yeah, me too. But Tim, your work spans multiple sectors: sports, marketing, wellness, and philanthropy.
Mm-hmm.
How do you define core values, the core values that unite all these endeavors?
The biggest thing for me is just integrity, number one. If you say you're going to do something, you got to do it, right? And I've learned not to commit until I can get an answer of 100% if I can actually accomplish it.
Yeah.
So the celebrity games, especially the last couple of years with the economic downturn, things like that, they've been a little bit tougher. But again, once you're committed, you're committed. You're in the fight, and there is no retreat, and you got to move forward. And so I think the integrity part of and I think it lacks so many, because just in business, no matter what, there's so many people that overpromise, right, and never deliver. And it's like, I would have been happy with the underpromise of what you could have just gotten done without. You didn't have to overpromise. But then it's always, now you're upset because your expectations.
Yeah.
Right. So I think the biggest thing for people is just not to overpromise. Just do what you say you can do, and just provide a great value and ROI for whatever you're doing.
Now let's speak on the three: the sports marketing, the sports marketing, wellness, and philanthropy a little bit. Break that down for me.
All three of them I've kind of fell into.
Yeah.
So out of the Air Force, just got into corporate America. Really just kind of started studying people who I wanted to be like. Out of the Air Force, I think the first tape series I ever listened to was, back then it was Anthony Robbins, right? Awaken the Giant Within. It wasn't Tony Robbins yet. And I sit through a whole tape series with my VP at the time. Nobody wanted to stay late. We did. And really after the whole tape series, what I learned was, go find somebody who's doing what you're doing and just copy them. How did they get there? What do they do? And which resonates great with me because I really don't need to read the whole book. Just tell me the Z of the book. I'm a great Cliff Note guy,
Yeah.
right? Just tell me how to win. I don't need A to Z. I just need, or really, I don't need the A to Y. I just need the Z, right? So everything I do has kind of been that for me. Is instead of spending all my time reading all this and trying to figure out like who is that individual that I would most want to be like, who's doing what I want to do, or who's in a genre that I would like to get in. Who are they? What are they doing? How are they doing it? And is it something that I can actually accomplish and copy, right? And I've just been overly blessed. You know, God just honestly has always put me in the right positions at the right times. Even when you don't realize, you know, sometimes it's years later, you're like, oh, now I understand why God had me in that spot, right? So, you know, went from corporate to just kind of falling into working with pro athletes on helping them with their name branding, marketing, endorsement stuff. At the same time, I had just started, I'd volunteered for Big Brothers and Big Sisters as a big here in DFW. I'd just gotten Big Brother of the Year award. I think probably a year and a half in, I got the Horizon Big Brother of the Year award, which is a Big Brother under 2 years. Received that award, and one of my mentors and best friends and Big Brothers today, Charles Pearson, who was the CEO, I mean, that was almost 20 years ago. And he and I still talk on a regular basis, but he was the one who really brought me in. And I was like, hey, I think we could do more for Big Brothers if I can get some of my friends involved. And so we just started doing a lot of stuff. And then, you know, I got put on an advisory board with them. And then, you know, my brand started expanding to other business leaders and other great thinkers and big achievers. And so it just kind of grew from there. And, you know, as you know, what you see with TK is what you get.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to try to be somebody I'm not.
100%.
You know, you're going to see me roll up in the Silver Bullet, my Nissan Altima, you know, that my wife had to have out of the gate. And then after about 2 months of driving it, she's like, it's too low to the ground, need another SUV. So I had to trade my SUV in to get her new SUV, and I got the Silver Bullet. But, you know, again, a lot of people try to, you know, act as if they're already there. And it's kind of like, man, to me, it's like, this is what you get. Like, take it or leave it. If I can help, I'm in. If I can't help, then I'll still do what I can, but might not always be to their expectations. So that's kind of how they all three kind of, and then the corporate side, when I left the corporate America, I was executive vice president for a Fortune 100 company in 2008, and there was a downturn, and they wanted me to do a big reduction in force by probably close to 150 people at that time. And I was like, you know what, here's my opportunity, I'm leaving. I'm not firing anybody today, and if I'm going to do anything, I'm going to do it on my own. And that was June 2nd of 2008. I'm 16 years into, you know, being on my own. And for better or for worse, it's actually been phenomenal. And then that's a friend of mine in the mentor space was like, hey, you already have everything everybody else would like. That's your relationships. What you need to do is figure out a brand or company that would best benefit you on what you would want to do. And being a sports guy, loving sports, loving competition, trying to stay healthy, even at 54 now. The health and wellness space was really the space that brought me, you know, that attracted me. And then we created Verve, and we've been doing health and wellness products ever since. So, yeah, it's just, it's been an unbelievable journey. And, you know, one day it's going to end. And like I tell guys at Bible study, it's like, man, I don't know if today's going to be my last day. Honestly, tomorrow's not promised. So I'm just one of those guys that every day I wake up expecting greatness. I just do. And then at the end of the day, you know, I tell guys, like, you know, so many people miss the opportunity because, you know, God only says he's going to provide your daily, right? And it's like, man, at the end of the day, did God provide me everything? Did I eat today? Did I, you know, do I have a house? Have a, you know, all the above. And it's like, yeah. So he did his part. Hopefully I did my part. And then we'll get a good night's sleep and we get at it again the next day. If I'm, you know, gracious enough to wake up and see the sunlight, then yeah, let's get back on it again, right? So it's just a nonstop, how much more can I do? How much more can I achieve? How many more people can I help? You know, especially with our health and wellness company. You know, right now in America, you got to be wealthy to be healthy. And I absolutely hate that growing up from a single parent household. And so that's one of my things with my products is like, no, I want to help 99% of America in the world, not the top 3%. So let's focus on how we do that. So that's kind of just, you know, where my focus is. And again, I've just been overly blessed. I haven't really ever went without.
Yeah.
You know, you seem like there's tough times, but then you look back and you realize those weren't really tough times. Those were growing times.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah, that's so, all that is like so much, you know, I love the fact that you said you expect greatness, and how could you now when our God is so great, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I love the part where you said where you know, you said, did I do my part, you know,
Right.
because I think a lot of times you know, we can get into that place where, well, I expected greatness, but did I do my part? You know
Right.
what I mean? So I appreciate that. That's something I'm going to definitely take with me.
Well, we were talking, again, you guys, a Bible study, and I said, how many of us at this table are like the Israelites leaving Egypt? Like God gave them all the riches from Egypt on their way out, took care of them every day, but then they were upset because they had to keep eating mantra every day, right?
Yeah.
But he's providing everything for them, but now they're like, it ain't good enough, right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of us get caught up in that sometimes where, you know, I got to go, look, I'm healthy, my wife's healthy, our marriage is great, our kids are healthy. Like, what else, you know, our bills are paid, like, we have, you know, a great place to live. We have, you know, might not be everything we would want,
Yeah.
but it is overly everything we need,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Yeah, everything you want might be too much, and you might not be able to have everything you might not be able to handle everything you
Correct.
you really think you want. You know what I
Right.
mean? What was the pivotal moment in your life when you realized your leadership could create meaningful change in the community?
Honestly, I've just been so hard-headed. I've never really focused on any of that. It's always, what else can we accomplish? You know, what else can we do? Going back to Big Brothers, Big Sisters, I remember we were doing a big capital campaign in 2004 or 5, somewhere around there, and I went to Charles Pearson with an idea of, you know, let's get Eugene Lockhart and let's camp out at Cowboys Stadium for an entire week. And let's just, help get the radio involved, he'll help get TV involved, he'll get other players. And he was like, it's nuts, there's no way we met with the Cowboys, he was like, absolutely not. But just something in my mind kept telling me, like, this is going to be a great we're doing it, we got to do it. And so we kind of forced him a little bit. I don't think the board wanted to do it. We kind of forced the deal. So the goal was to raise $500,000 in a week. So every yard line represented X amount of donation. And Eugene did his part. He really got the media involved, really went and got, you know, the Staubachs and I think Tony Dorsett and all these great players involved, and even some of my current players at the time, the Patrick Cranes, Isaiah Stanbacks, those guys were coming out and helping out. And at the end of the week, we ended up raising $580,000, okay? And that was at the old Cowboys Stadium with the hole in the roof. The mosquitoes were about as big as our heads. It was not pleasant. I stayed one night out there at the Eugene, and literally after about 2 hours on a cot, I was like, I'm going into the locker room and sleeping because I still have to get up and go to work the next day. And then I think we ended up raising maybe got like $13 or $15 million of free TV. And I mean, Good Morning America came out and did a spot on us.
Oh, wow.
Right, and helped raise money. So, you know, I don't think people honestly take big enough risk. I think that's the problem with most. I think there's so much talent left on the table. And, you know, the thing I don't want to be is I don't want to be at the end of my life looking back going, man, why didn't I take that risk? Or why didn't I take that chance? Or why didn't I? And, you know, trust me, it's not easy for my wife being married to me. It's not, because there's things that she's like, you're absolutely lost your mind doing this. And it's kind of like, maybe. But, you know, and I've dug us in a couple financial holes over times doing events. And, but again, the good Lord, he always comes through and delivers and digs us out of those holes through family, friends, and relatives and donors. And, you know, we don't make money off these events. That's kind of the other side of it, where some people are like, you're taking all this risk, you're not even making money off this thing, right? Yeah. Especially if it's a celebrity game. And even my partners are like, we probably should be making something. I'm like, I don't feel comfortable making, we're already getting paid, right? So like, let's go for it. And as you know, the event, we just did our 10th year, and it just continues to get bigger and bigger, and more celebrities and people getting involved, and corporate donors, and you name it. And we've kind of changed it around. Instead of raising money, like where we're physically donating a check, because we used to donate a check to 2 charities. But to be honest with you, charities don't do a lot for themselves anymore. And it started getting kind of frustrating. And then I couldn't tell you how many charities were calling me trying to get into the game, trying to be that charity. And then through some friends I started talking to, we created the game to be a platform now. The game is still about $170,000 to put on for the weekend. It's not cheap, but what we do is we use that platform to help all these charities come together and get the exposure for them. But what they have to do is they have to show me whether it's an individual donation, a golf tournament, a gala, whatever. They have to raise a minimum of $10,000 on their own. They get to keep 100%, but that gets them into the game as a charity.
Okay.
So you guys got to raise your own money. I'm going to create a platform for us that you can't get the access that I'm providing without this game. And that's the celebrities and the big donors and the big corporate and the big everybody. So I'm going to kind of create a mini Super Bowl weekend with a celebrity game included. And your charity is going to get to come and use my event to help give back to your donors, your sponsors, your people who help you out. We'll give you tickets, whatever we need. And at first I didn't know how it was going to take off. In the first year, out of the charities that participated, we raised like $450,000. Got nothing but great feedback. This year, I think we did 18 or 19 charities for over $760,000. I don't know the exact number, 763 something. But was the first celebrity to receive the award, because what Jim McMahon does in giving back to the veteran community is really is ridiculous. A lot of people don't know. And then Don Graves obviously had to get the first one for himself. But the story is, Don Graves, the party started at 7. Don Graves was already there about 6:30. Wow. He was literally going back to his room when Jessica and I were going back to our room about 2 in the morning.
Wow.
And he was there the whole time and had a blast. And I told my wife, like, I don't know, like, he's 99 years old. I'm absolutely worn out. He's still going here.
Yeah.
So it's just that type of fun. It's just that type of people. And again, when you get the veteran community, celebrity community, and then all your sponsors, donors, just makes for an unbelievable great match.
Yeah, Don Graves. I'm supposed to Mary Sheffield and Rick had Rick Irving here. I had him on one of the podcasts for the Unfinished Business podcast, a podcast for veterans pursuing your life missions podcast. I'm supposed to go interview Don Graves at some point. I need to get there.
He's absolutely amazing, and he sings the national anthem at every one of our games.
Yeah.
And he was dragging on Saturday at the national anthem on Saturday. And I was like, you're paying that price now for staying out all night. He's like, I really am. So anyway, it's just so much fun. And like I said, it's just a good way for I want the charities and foundations to use us as a way to give back to their people that are important to them, right?
Yeah. Okay. And off of that, what in your experience, what is the most overlooked element of effective leadership in nonprofit work?
Follow up. I'm guilty of it even to a certain extent myself, because you're so busy.
Yeah.
Again, everybody gets a check, and then you're off to the next check. And you have a tendency to forget to go back and, again, I always have to look back at the people that are helping me. It might not be money, it might be time, it might be, there's so many different ways people can help, or I might be opening doors or making introductions. And my mindset is always like, I owe that person.
Yeah.
Right? No matter what can I do for that person for helping me? And I think, I think foundations and charities, and again, that's kind of where I learned it from one of my players from the Cowboys when I was with Big Brothers on their advisory. We had to raise X amount of money. But when we needed money, they would call me and go, hey, do you think you can go get 4 or 5 of your Cowboy players to donate? So I would call them, they would all donate, but then, one of my guys like, man, I love Big Brothers, Big Sisters, but I only hear from these guys once a year, and that's when you're calling me. And I only get to go to the galas because you got the tickets that you're inviting us. I don't really hear from anybody else. Yeah. And so I went to Charles Pearson and said, man, this is what one of my guys said, and he's spot on. And then Charles Pearson's like, 100%, we got to change that, right? So, I think even Big Brothers got to a point where even if you donate throughout the year, obviously you don't need to pay for your tickets to the gala. Yeah. You're right. I mean, they started giving back to their donors and taking care of them, taking that extra step to really hone in on, hey, we appreciate you. Yeah. Right. And I think that's the biggest thing that a lot of nonprofits and foundations sometimes overlook. And it's not because they don't care. It's because they're so busy in trying to get the next opportunity to even stay awake or afloat. Right. Yeah. That they just kind of forget. Yeah. They just take it for granted sometimes. Yeah. Yeah, I understand. That's probably the number one thing. Yeah. In your view, what's the most pressing issue facing nonprofits today, and how can leaders in this sector address it with innovation? Well, I think one is the economy. If the economy is going good, usually foundations are doing well, right? People have more ancillary money to donate or give, That's usually when you see foundations doing well. When you go through tough economic times like we have the last few years, that's when you tend to see your donations decrease because people don't have the ancillary money they would like to have to donate. And so what are we going to do in these tough times? Because it's easy during the good times for the donations.
Yeah.
It's tough during the tough times. So how are we going to create an opportunity for ourselves that we, whether good or bad, we're still doing great? And I think that's what they just really have to pay attention to is, you know, success is by design, right? So nobody waking up successful. You know, I've cheated my way to even where I'm at now, and I'm not even, I feel like I'm at square one, right? Like I'm just at the starting line. And that's how I feel every day, like I'm just now at the starting line to where I want to go. I've been like that, I'm 54, and I've been like that my whole life. But, you know, I think, again, foundations and charities, you know, when they're working with people, that's where they got to get out there and go, okay, every day we're at square one. What can we do that's going to be innovative, that's going to be fun, that's going to keep people coming back every year? Because again, right now, again, Black Tie Galas is Groundhog Day. I don't care what charity foundation it is.
Yeah.
It's pretty much the same itinerary throughout, you know, let's have a little VIP. And I have OCD bad. I don't like to sit down and be quiet for 3 hours. And ADD, probably ADHD, and whatever else my wife says I have. You know, so if I'm having fun for the hour before, mixing, mingling, having cocktails, now I'm having fun.
Yeah.
And then you're telling me I need to go sit down and be quiet for 3 hours while we do a presentation, I'm done. And like my wife already knows, like I'm gonna probably eat my meal. As soon as my drink's gone, I'm making a bathroom run and I'm not coming back. I'll come back when the music kicks in, right? And she's stuck there the whole time because she's gonna be nice enough to actually pay attention and listen. But I just can't. I can't sit there. But it's like, you know, again, like, man, what are you going to do outside the norm? Again, to, like people, they're already donating.
Yeah.
They already know what they're there for. Do we really have to sit through an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, and whatever? Do we?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Right? Like, let's get in and have some fun.
Yeah.
And mix and mingle. And that's why the celebrity weekends are such a huge hit because there ain't no sitting down.
Yeah.
Like, and I tell everybody, like, party starts at 7. We're not serving food. So eat before you come. Only thing we're serving is cocktails. Like, this ain't that type of deal. This is like one step above the old kegger out there in the middle of a field.
Yeah.
We're going to have some fun, dress nice, come have fun. But I want people mixing and mingling, expanding their brand.
Yeah.
I don't want them stuck at a table. You know, same thing with golf tournaments. You know, a lot of people are like, why don't you do a golf tournament? I'm like, I don't even like playing in the celebrity golf tournaments most of the time. I do because I always get my own team. So it's fun to get to see them, hang out with them for 5 hours.
Yeah.
But if I'm there to mix and mingle, I'm really not meeting anybody.
Yeah.
I'm already coming with people I know.
Yeah.
I don't really get to meet anybody else here. By the time the event's over, we're all coming in, we're sitting down, scorecards, great, we're all leaving. So where was really the expanding of the brand for the individuals that were there? There is none.
Yeah.
Right? So it's things like that, like, man, go outside the box, do a bowling event, I mean, there's so many different events that people just don't even pay attention to that are a lot more fun than what charities in them are doing now. And that's the other thing. If every foundation out there is doing the same thing, what is actually getting me interested in even participating in, because everybody's got a great cause.
Yeah.
But if you're all doing the same thing, and it's the same thing, and the same thing, and so who do I just give my money to? Because really, you know,
true.
what difference are you really making?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And again, what am I getting? What's my ROI?
Yeah.
Right? So again, my thing is like, I want to make sure that the people who help me out or help these charities and they all come, when they leave, they're going, that was the best weekend I've had in a long time. Jim McMahon, honestly, we had to fight Jimmy to get him there. Had to fight him. He got there, me and him hung out at the pool all day Friday. Had a few cocktails, got to catch up, talk football. When he found out that the Friday night party, because he thought it was a sit-down gala. When he found out, like, what? No, we're having fun. He was like, what? Oh, awesome. Same thing. I think he was right with us on our way back to our room at 1:30 in the morning, 2 o'clock, with Don Graves, with the rest of us. And then we were at the pool all day, you know, from 10 to 2 on Saturday. Everybody's mixing, mingling. You know, there's 300 people at the pool.
Wow.
And then we all go to the game and play a game. By then, everybody pretty much knows everybody, and everybody's having a blast, right? So that was the thing where by the time the weekend was over, he's like, as soon as you get the date for next year, call me. I'm in. I'll never miss this event.
Wow.
This is one of the funnest weekends I've been to. And you got to think about a guy who's doing, 2 golf tournaments every week all over the nation, right?
Wow.
And he was like, I'll never miss this event. That's how most everybody is once they get there. And that's why you can't get rid of anybody.
Yeah.
Because when you come once and have fun, you're like, I'll never miss this. And that's why it continues to go and grow every single year.
Yeah.
And I mean, even the hotel, no matter how much you tell them, this is the first year we were at the Stonebriar, phenomenal hotel. I was like, get ready, here's what's going. Yeah. By the time the weekend was over, they were like, we didn't have any idea. I was like, you did have an idea, I told you. But now next year, now you'll be prepared even better.
Yeah.
But I know our hotel, their number one weekend, somebody told me, was Memorial Day weekend. And they were like, you guys blew through that weekend. That's the type of weekend that
really?
we have.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow,
So their
that's crazy.
best money-making weekend is Memorial Day weekend here in
Wow.
Frisco. And we blew through their weekend. And that's everybody paying for their own,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, that's crazy.
So that just kind of shows you, again, and people want to go to stuff that's making a difference, having fun. I can see an ROI. That's what Foundation Charity's got to focus on.
Yeah.
What are those things?
Yeah, that's what's unique about yours. The Celebrity Softball Classic. It's like families can come out during the day, watch.
We have little kids come to the Friday night party.
Oh, really?
We have friends that bring their kids. I mean, it's kind of like, look, there's nothing bad going to happen here. It's just adults hanging out.
Yeah.
You're the parent. If you're okay with your kid being around here, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Just pay attention to them.
Yeah.
Don't let them go run crazy on me. But for the most part, I mean, there's parents that will bring some of their kids out. And I got celebrities that bring their parents. And their parents are having a blast, right? And this whole thing started because, when I was in the Air Force, I played all Air Force softball and then played on a bunch of civilian teams. And then when I got out of the Air Force, I had to go to work. And, it was like, man, let's do a celebrity softball. I can't do no more black ties. Let's do something we can all have fun together.
Yeah.
And even with Marcus O'Trails, it was the day in, day out. So everybody showed up. We had a game. And I remember the first after party, we were literally in mine and my wife's hotel suite in like an Embassy Suites. I mean, you couldn't get another person in our suite. And my alcohol rep had brought alcohol out of her trunk up into the room, and we're buying mixers out of the vending machine in the hallway. And Scott Brown from Scooter Brown Band, now with the War Hippies, he brought his guitar up and was playing. And it was a blast, right? Yeah. And it was just unplanned. It was like, well, what are we doing? So then it's just evolved. Every year you're like, there's something we can do better. Even after, this is our 10th year, and even after this week, I was still like, we can do better.
Let me ask you a question. What have you learned about leadership and community from organizing such a large scaled event?
It's always about the people, right? It's always about circling yourself with great people. And that's really, I've just been overly blessed to find super great talent and then let them do what they do and get out of their way.
Yeah.
Right. So my event girls, who are like baby sisters to me, I've got to know them throughout the years. They called me and said, hey, so-and-so's here, and they're telling us we need to do this, we need to do that, we need to do this. And I had just left the stadium the morning we were getting everything set. So I showed up, let's do this. Great. I got to go pick up Jimmy Mack. Everybody good? Yep, great. Call me if you need me. So it probably wasn't 20 minutes out of there. My girls called and said, hey, so-and-so's here, and she's saying we need to do this. And I said, hey, let me ask you something. Who's running this? They're like, well, you are. I'm like, no, I'm paying you to run it. Who's running it? Yeah. Well, we want to make sure, right. Whatever happens, good or bad, I'm going to be okay with it.
Yeah.
But you're running it. So go ahead and let people know that we've already talked to TK and we got it under control. Don't let anybody, volunteers or whoever try to come in and start telling you what you are and what you're not going to do, because you're in charge, right? And it's a bunch of friends and family that are all helping out and volunteering. But again, you get one or two people like, oh, we're going to do this. Well, hold on, let's talk about it. So I was like, who's doing it? We are. Okay, then great. I'll see y'all later on, right? So it's just surround yourself with great people. I always said it in the corporate world too. I was probably the only one in our corporate at executive level who didn't have a college degree. I did one semester of college, got a 4.0. I was like, this is a waste of time. This is cutting into my softball when I was in the Air Force, and that was it, right? And it's just a lot easier to cheat your way to success sometimes and have to, again, watching people who's already paved the road than trying to figure it out. There's so many people out there because they maybe went to school, they think they have to figure everything out the hard way, and you don't.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's crazy. I always tell my wife, we're not going to start, when we first started dating, I said, we're not going to start from point A.
we're going to start from point B and we're going to move. We're not going to sit on. We
Right.
don't need to go from this to this to this to this to this.
Right.
You know, we're going to go from here, and we're not going to hit that.
And when you
point
come
A.
in with me, I mean, you know, good, bad, and ugly. I mean, again, I just always expect the worst situation, right? Like this could happen here, this could happen, and and if it doesn't, then great, right? But I don't. Again, the people who work with me and help me out, I mean, they're really. Honestly, they're really the unsung heroes. There's so many volunteers, so many people that help at every single level. Then you got all the people from the hotel who's organizing, helping you from behind the scenes. You got people at the stadium. You've got the players. You got the celebrities. There's so many people. I'm just kind of the puppeteer for the most part and just kind of directing traffic. But really, it's all these people that help make the vision come true.
You kind of answered this next question, but I'm going to go ahead and skip to the next one. What advice would you give in emerging leaders in the nonprofit space who are struggling to balance passion with the problematics of running a sustainable organization?
Well, again, it goes back to you know, the right hire, right? Like if you are the type of leader that you have to do everything, then save everybody the agony of hiring them, because you hired me for a reason. Right? If you're hiring me to constantly go behind me or constantly tell me what I need to do, constantly, right? Then you really don't need me. You just need anybody to fill these shoes, right? But if you're hiring me to help you grow your company, help you grow your nonprofit, help you grow, and that's what you're hiring me for, then let me get out on the ledge and do things, right? And again, you know, I think there's so many people that are so worried about making a mistake, because if I do make a mistake, I could get fired, or I could get in trouble, and I don't want employees worrying about that. I'd rather have employees making a mistake trying than not doing anything, right?
Yeah.
And so I literally told somebody today, probably the best advice I could have got was probably when I was about 32. I just got my first VP spot in the corporate world, and we were doing a small celebrity thing for the Winter Warrior amputee softball team. So Kevin Minch and I and some other players, we had kind of put a team together, and a couple of veterans had put a team together, played the Winter Warrior amputee softball team. Well, Joe DePinto, the CEO of 7-Eleven, was throwing out the first pitch. And I really didn't know who Joe DePinto was. I didn't have a clue, honestly. I didn't even hear who he was throwing the pitch out. I just saw this guy throw the pitch out, and he comes walking up, and just by somehow, he and I start chatting. He's like, hey, Joe DePinto. I was like, hey, man, TK, nice to meet you. How are you? He goes, oh, good, you know. And he said, what are you doing? I said, well, man, this is what I do. And where'd you serve? I told him. I said, what about you? He goes, oh, I'm CEO of 7-Eleven. I was like, oh, okay, that guy. So he's like, oh, so you're a VP. I was like, oh, he said, what do you do for your company? I said, I'm vice president. Oh, how long you been in there? I was like, less than a year. And he goes, how many people you have work for you? And I go, oh, I got about 125, 130. He said, they work for you. And I was like, yeah, yes, sir. Mm-hmm. And he just kept looking at me. I was putting my cleats on. And I kind of looked up, and he's like, they work for you. And then I finally stood up. I'm like, what am I missing? He goes, do you care if I give you a piece of advice that might help you? I was like, of course. He's like, those people, they don't work for you. So now I'm kind of sitting there like, what are we talking about here, right? He goes, you actually work for them. That's a leadership role. When you're in a leadership role, the people down here, they don't work for you. You work for them. He's like, it's your job every single day to get up and figure out, how am I going to make every one of these individuals successful today? He's like, and you don't just owe it to them, but you owe it more so to their families.
Yeah.
Because they're spending more time with you than they are with their own families. So it's your job to make sure that while they're there, they're getting the most out of that opportunity to take care of their families.
Yeah.
And it really hit me real hard to like really understand, like, okay. And he's like, the good news is you only got whatever it was, 125, whatever. So you only got 125 people. That's good news. I have to wake up every day and figure out how I'm going to make 43,000 people around the world better. He's like, that's a little bit interesting every day.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But then so my question was, how do you do it? I hire the right people. Right?
Yeah.
And then he just gets out of their way. Right?
Yeah.
And he manages. And that was probably the best advice I could have ever gotten at such a young age. That really made an impact on me. That really changed my look of everything. Right?
Yeah.
Because again, most managers, because of the way they're raised, or again, success to be designed, is fear factor. You don't do your job, we're firing you. You make a mistake, we're firing you. You do this, we're firing you. It's a constant. It's always the threat of you getting fired, right?
Yeah.
And it just isn't always productive.
Yeah.
People need to know that, hey, good or bad, TK's got my back, and I'm going to come in every day and I'm going to give him 110% because I know he's giving me 110% every day, right? And that's the other thing Joe said. He goes, if you can help them be successful, they're going to make you big time successful, and that's what it was. The more I helped them, guess what? The productivity ran up to me from me pushing, doing what I'm supposed to do here. The productivity came up here because of the loyalty on both sides, and they all made me look great, right?
Yeah.
So it's always a win-win, but you gotta be willing to give to get.
Yeah, that's such a point. That's an excellent point you're making, because I recently just had a falling out with a nonprofit organization that I helped for 6 years, and I think that individual missed the opportunity. The part where it says I didn't work for that person.
Right.
It should have been the other way around, putting me in the best opportunity, instead of trying to take an opportunity away from me. And I
Well, it's
thought,
the same thing when
yeah.
people, sometimes when nonprofits are hiring, experts or different people,
Yeah.
the expectations are never talked about properly on the front end.
Yeah.
Right?
100%.
So even when people want to do business with Verve or, anything with our company, I'm glad we're having this talk, but what I need to know more than anything is, what are your expectations of Verve?
Yeah.
What do you need from us
Yeah.
so you're happy?
Yeah.
Because I don't know if I can be
you.
that guy.
Yeah.
I need to make sure my company can come through and deliver on what your expectations are. And if you tell me your expectations and we can't be there, then it's probably best I'm not going to take that risk with you at this point.
Yeah.
Right? Or I'll tell you what we can do, what I 100% know I can accomplish, but I'm not going to give you a false but again, people don't talk about expectation. Just like your wife, people, when you're dating or, don't really talk about expectations sometimes until you're married a couple, 2 or 3 years, and then all of a sudden you're like, well, I'm not really liking the way you do this, or I don't like,
What do you mean you don't
or
do
she's
dishes?
going, I don't like the way you do this, and now you got to have a conversation on, again, expectations, right?
Yeah.
And it's always, again, if you can get the expectations out of the way first, no matter what you're doing, it's just that upfront contract.
Yeah.
Right? No matter what, who, what, when, and where, relationships, and it always goes back to relationships.
Yeah.
Everybody says business, but it's relationships first before I'm even doing business with you.
Yeah.
So what's our expectations of each other, then our business expectations, and then what are we expecting, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I try to do, is again, make everybody, deservingly so, they should feel phenomenal. And I can tell you right now, if I went into the Lie by Lowe's in Arlington right now, the old one, not the brand new one, the people who were there during celebrity games, they will literally yell at the workers will yell my name out when I come in. And my wife is just like, yes, it does. They know, because we'll go there a lot of times first before we go to something at Globe Life Field.
Yeah.
Whether it's a game or a concert, whatever, we always go there and see everybody. And a lot of times I'll still take the celebrity game rings in from that year in and give them out because they love them. But I do it because I love those people.
Yeah.
They are such phenomenal people at the Lie by Lowe's. And the same thing at Stonebriar and wherever I go.
Yeah.
I just love the people. And but again, most people, they're going to come and have an event. They're not going to look at the employees that way.
Yeah.
Right? They're just whatever. They're bartender, they're this, they're waitress, whatever. I just always have a different approach, and the way I see people and the way I look at people and the way I want to treat people, because I don't think it matters what your bank account is or what your status is or who you are or what you do. Everybody should be treated with the same level of respect and love and kindness and the whole 9 yards. And I think if you can do that as well, you're going to get a lot farther along in life.
I want to tell you, thank you for this ring you got me. It's is this a 10-year one?
That's a 10-year one.
10 years. Part of the reason we're talking is because it's celebrating our friendship and celebrating your success, and I think it's so important that people hear you, hear your voice, and when we're talking about nonprofits and how to run a successful nonprofit, you have shown that you have, you're
Go find the best people and
have
them help you.
Yeah,
That's really what it boils down to.
And so this is a celebration of 10 years too, man. So you gave me this ring. I was surprised.
Well, I
but
appreciate you having me up here. I mean, my God, it took me forever to get here, but
Thanks.
yeah, I mean, just come up here. I was excited about coming up here and seeing you today. Like you said, it's been a while, and man, I couldn't wait to come and hang out with you. And I appreciate everybody who's viewing and always watching Rush. I mean, you know, he definitely has some of the best people on that you can ever find put on these podcasts. And, you know, everybody has such great insights that are on your shows, and you do such a great job in bringing those insights out. It's just awesome. And like I said, it's just been too long.
I appreciate you. Yeah, 100%.
Appreciate you, brother.
Okay, a couple more questions.
Fire away.
What do you got working? What's exciting right now? I know you got things planned out. What do you got working?
You know what? You know, we're in about a week outside of Thanksgiving. This is usually the time of year, honestly, that I just shut it down.
Okay.
About mid-November through maybe the 1st of November, I had to play in a Memorial Golf Tournament for Toby Keith in Nashville about a week ago, and that was kind of like, okay, I'm going to go do this in Nashville, and I'm pretty much done for the year. Because I think it's important for people to regroup, especially if you're an entrepreneur, to kind of just regroup, get your feet back underneath you, start really looking. I'm definitely a goals person. And it's kind of funny because I usually never have problems writing my goals down, and I'm just at a place where I'm looking at a piece of paper on my desk most days, and it's like, I'm not ready for it.
Yeah.
My mind isn't focused enough to like really dive into this, right? But between now and the 1st of January, you know, things will start just by being able to just let the smoke settle from the year. Because as you know, my life is nonstop. It's nuts. It's a constant, you know, running crazy. You know, I lost a couple of really close friends this year in England, and I've been back and forth from England a couple of times. And, you know, I mean, it's just, life is just life, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, the bigger thing is the balance. And for me is, I'm just so overly blessed to get to wake up and do whatever I want to do every day.
100%.
That it just makes it such an amazing journey for me personally. Again, the good, the bad, the ugly, it's all the same to me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, things to be going great, I'm going to be just excited there as I am when things aren't going my way on a daily basis. It's still like, I'm still excited because it's like, I know there's something big coming.
Yeah.
God's got something amazing coming.
Amen.
So even when things ain't going my way, it's still like, what do I got to do to keep myself busy some days, right? Like today, I was this close this morning, not working out, and going over my storage unit and just flip. I got about 80,000 sports cards, and that's kind of my getaway, right? So there's days I need to maybe just get away from it all.
Yeah.
And I'll tell Jessica, like, I'm going to the storage unit to look through those cards. And it's funny because she's like, oh my God, how many times can you look through these cards? And it's like, it's 80,000.
Yeah.
Like, it takes a while. Even though I've been through them all several times, I still like to look at them and read the backs, but it just takes my mind away. And what happens is, what's amazing, and I always take a notepad with me, because what will happen is I'm looking at cards, and I'll turn some, you know, like maybe Elvis or something on, I'll listen to it in my storage unit. But as I'm just kind of looking, and things will just start popping to me. And I won't try to overthink, I'll just start writing it down. And I'll just keep looking. And then something will pop, another idea.
Wow. And
I'll just, so that's kind of how, you know, it just depends on where you know, you got to find those things too that you can get away and just kind of defrag. And I find sometimes by just kind of removing myself sometimes out of myself, just getting out of my own way sometimes, you know, it opens up the door for the opportunities to start, kind of ideas to start flowing in, right? So, and then, you know, I definitely will get my goals down, and I tried to bore myself to a point where I just literally cannot wait for the beginning of the year to start. So by the time it starts, I'm like at the starting line going, let's get the party started, right?
Yeah.
So, and then I think the holidays too, everybody should, you know, take some time and just kind of, nobody's doing nothing. Like, get your year wrapped up, digress, enjoy a little bit. You know, I mean, our biggest problem right now is we got so many invites that my wife's kind of going, man, we'll be doing something almost every day if we have to go to all these things. Like, I want to go, but gosh, you know, and it's like, we're just not gonna be able to go to all of them. But it's just appreciative that people invite you and do that. But it's just kind of like, man, let's just disappear, grab some time, get readjusted, get remotivated, regroup, and get back to it, you know. And for 11 months, 10 months out of the year, just 100% all day, every day. And it's not easy. I mean, being disciplined, and discipline is probably the number one word. You know, there's several days like today, I don't want to get up and work out. I'm absolutely sores could be from yesterday. Don't want to work out, but I know that's part of my routine, that it has to be done.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, whatever I can get done today, I've got to do it because that's just part of it, right? And I think it's that what people have to take on a daily basis is, stuff we have to do, we don't always want to do, but you're going to have to do it if what's the worst pain? Not doing it or being fat? Well, being fat, being even chunkier than what I am is worse pain than not doing it. So I'd rather just do it and, So again, it's just the little things, right, that we overlook.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. You got to take that mental health break when you need to, and especially during the holidays. Okay, there's a new segment I started today with Joy a few minutes ago. It's the shout out. Like you have somebody you want to shout out, you want to give some props to somebody out there, an organization or your neighbor, anything like that, and the mailman.
No, biggest shout outs right here to my man, Super Rush. Honestly, I've seen this guy over 10 years. Start with an idea of, this is what I'd love to do. This is my passion, and storytelling is really what this is, right? And finding great people that I can not only tell their stories, get their stories out, but also learn from their stories. And I know what he's doing is not easy because I've been around this industry. I do a lot in this industry, obviously, and it's not an easy industry to be in. It doesn't overly pay well. It's a grind, to say the least. And for somebody who continues to do it every day in and out and finding amazing people and continue to put great content out, it's absolutely amazing. So I appreciate everything you do. If you want to find us, you can go to Buyverve, BUYVERVE.com. Find all of our products there, all of our different health and wellness and apparel products. And then celebritysoftballclassic.org. Just exactly how it sounds, celebritysoftballclassic.org or .com, either one. And you can kind of check out everything from last year. We usually wait till we get the new date, which is usually I have to wait till the NCAA schedule comes out to find out what weekend OUUT is on because we're back in the October games. So we'll do it whatever weekend they're not on. So if they're the second weekend of the month, we'll be the first weekend. If they happen to be the first, we'll be the second. But that usually comes out end of January, I think. Once that's done, we'll update the site. We'll put everything from this year up there, all the photos, all the new videos, all the everything from this year, and then we kind of get relaunched, right? So everything you see on there now is from this past year. Probably 1st of February, you'll see everything updated with the new dates and everything for next year. So celebrity rosters usually come out around July 4th. So the celebrity rosters won't be up until July 4th. So beyond that, it's always good.
Tim, I love you, brother.
Love you, brother.
Man,
Thanks for having me.
I appreciate the shout out.
No, appreciate you.
No, I'm very thankful to have you here today. Like I said before, from the beginning when we started with the Man series and went through that, learning from you and saying, man, we're gonna have to get together again today. And I'm so happy that you are here today, and I feel blessed and honored to spend time with you and pick your brain about some things. So I appreciate you, man.
Really excited to get in here today.
Awesome.
So thanks for having me.
All right, guys, that's it for Next Level Thinkers, a Charting New Horizons of Brilliance podcast. As I always say, have peace and enlighten you, and remember that the ocean refuses no river.